My Sweet Audrina, Part 2, Sisters, Number 2. Let's see. She screamed during the nights, proving she did have active vocal cords and could one day speak if ever I could activate her dormant brain. She fed herself by clumsily picking up her food after many fruitless attempts, shoving whatever it was in her hand toward her mouth. Unfortunately, she never managed on the first try, would miss at least twice before she centered her hands in her mouth. Each meal ended with Sylvia looking a dreadful mess with food plastered all over her face, in her hair, in her nostrils. A bib did no good at all. She dropped, she spilled, she threw up often, especially after eating grass. Worst of all, worse than anything, she still had no control over her body's elimination functions. She's not 3 years old yet, encouraged Papa. Even you weren't out of diapers at her age. Yes, she was, disagreed my aunt. Audrina was always painfully aware of being messy. She trained herself as Lucilla read nursery rhymes and showed her pretty pictures and rewarded her with cookies when she performed well. Papa scrawled disapprovingly, then proceeded to ignore her. And you'll have to keep her cleaner, Audrina, or she'll end up with a red raw bottom that will be the devil to heal. That's why she cries out in the night. That diaper rash hurts. Damien, stop it. You cannot expect a young girl like Audrina to take full responsibility for a retarded child. Put her back in that place, or hire a nurse. I can't afford a nurse, added Papa. I've got you, Ellie, that daughter of yours to support. That takes all my cash. I stared at Papa, hating the way he would take the truth and twist it. Half an hour later, I tried the potty seat again, tying Sylvia to it so she wouldn't wiggle off. For an hour, I read to her from Mother Goose, but to no avail. The moment I had Sylvia dressed again and clean diapers with plastic panties over them, she was soiled. Vera came in just in time to see me change her again. Boy, I'm glad she's not in my charge, or she'd stay filthy. Fine nurse you'll make, I said angrily. Then I snapped my head around to glare at her. Where you been? Sometimes when I thought Vera was in her room reading, she wasn't there at all. She wasn't anywhere where I could find her. Usually she'd show up just before 6 when Papa was due home. I hate summer school. I hate winter school. I know schools end at 12, but I do have a few friends in the village, even if you don't. Smiling and mysterious looking, she tossed a Hershey bar my way. A gift. I know you like chocolate. Sometimes something was going on in Vera's life, but I didn't pry. Though she no longer openly tormented me, she still didn't help with schoolwork or housework or dishes or with Sylvia. I pooped on Audrina, really pooped. She yawned and curled up in the chair like some slinky, sensuous cat. I could almost hear her purring. As my aunt and I prepared the meals and cleaned the house and changed the bed linens together, some kind of closeness developed between us as we worked, doing all the many things Vera refused to do. Occasionally now, she even let me call her Aunt Ellie. Oh, how she struggled to cook as well as Mama had cooked. It was her desire, though she never said this to me, I sensed it, to cook even better than my mother. She wanted Papa to have all his favorite dishes. Sometimes it was 2 o'clock in the morning before she went to bed. Perhaps it was 6 months after Sylvia came before finally one day Papa smiled. Well, Ellie, you really outdid yourself this time. No one would have done better. That was a superb meal, really superb. Who would have ever thought I'd be happy to hear him say my aunt could match my mother in anything? I appreciated his compliment so much that tears came to my eyes. Perhaps they came to hers, too. A different kind of life developed for me, a frantic life that stole my summer, stole the 3 afternoons a week from taking music lessons, leaving me little time for Billy and Arden. In the fall, it forced me to race home from where the school bus let me off, arriving to search breathlessly for Sylvia, who had the worst habit of wanting to hide herself away somewhere. It was a thankless task I'd set for myself, truly an impossible task to try and train Sylvia in the same way you would a child of normal intelligence. Her attention span was exceedingly short. She couldn't sit still. She couldn't focus her eyes or her mind on anything but movement. The worst of it was that no sooner did Papa drop Sylvia into my lap than he forgot her existence. Desperately, I turned to my aunt and pleaded for help. All right, she said, I promise to do what I can while you're in school. But the moment you come home, and on the weekends and school vacations, Sylvia is yours. All yours. Many times I rescued Sylvia from a horrible punishment my aunt felt perfectly justified in delivering. No, I yelled, racing into the kitchen and throwing down my schoolwork. Don't you use that switch on Sylvia. She doesn't know it's wrong to pull up all the chrysanthemums. She thinks they're pretty, and she likes pretty, colorful things. Don't we all? Asked my aunt icily. I like to put them on the table for your father. What's more, Sylvia trampled down my vegetable beds, too. Everything's ready to harvest she's ruined. Sometimes I think she's deliberately trying to drive me crazy, as she is. Tears of self-pity made her eyes sparkle. Sylvia's room was like a padded cell. In that small, pitiful room was a small, low bed from which she could fall to the carpet without injuring herself when she hit the thick carpeting. Truly, some times it seemed my aunt was right. Sylvia should never have been born, but born she was, and there wasn't much I could do about it and still like being me. Sylvia was 3 years old now, and unlike other children who liked to play with building blocks and balls and some kitty cars. You stir it up. It'll be good. Sylvia wasn't interested. She didn't know what to do with herself but roam about endlessly. She liked to climb, to eat and drink, to prowl, and to hide away, and that was all. I didn't know how to begin her education with pretty picture books couldn't capture her attention, and toys were meaningless and objects to her. Even when I tied her in a chair, she could still loll her head about and avoid seeing anything I tried to show her. Then one wonderful day, when I was rocking in the chair in the first and best Audrina's playroom, I had a vision. I saw a little girl who looked somewhat like me, or the other Audrina, playing with crystal prisms, sitting in the sunlight and catching sunlight to reflect it on the walls into the mirrors that shot the colors back again, and all the room turned into a kaleidoscope. On the toy shelves of the playroom, I found a half a dozen beautifully shaped crystal prisms, two like long teardrops, another like a star, one a snowflake, and another a giant diamond. I gathered them together, then opened the draperies wide, tore back the sheer curtains, and sat on the floor and played with the prisms myself. It was Sylvia's habit to follow me around when I was home. Such a close shadow that often I felt when I turned around abruptly, I bumped into Sylvia and knocked her down. The sunlight through the prisms shot rainbows about the room. I saw in my peripheral vision that Sylvia was interested in the colors. She was staring at the rainbows that danced about the room. I played with them over her face, made one cheek red, the other green, then briefly flashed the light in her eyes. It dazzled her and blinded her, and for some reason she cried out. Stumbling forward, she moaned as she grabbed for the prisms, wanting them for herself. I'm sure to Sylvia the things in my hands were hard flowers. She took them and went to crouch in the corner as if to hide from me. There she tried to make the colors dance. They wouldn't. I watched her, mentally telling her to move into the sunlight. Only in the sunlight would the colors come alive. Over and over she turned the prisms, grunting in frustration and wailing noise coming from deep inside her, and then she began to crawl with the prism clutched in each hand until she was in the largest patch of sunlight. Immediately the crystals came to life and filled the room with beams of color. For the first time I saw her eyes widen with surprise. Sylvia was making something happen. She knew it. I could see her joy as she made the colors move about the room. I sat up to hug her close. Pretty colors, Sylvia. All yours. I give to you what used to belong to her. A faint and fuzzy smile visited her gaping lips. Oh, God, take those things from her, complained my aunt the next morning. Did you have to give her those? Leave her alone, Ellie. At least she's found something to do. She's fascinated by the colors, and who knows, maybe they'll teach her something. What? How to blind us? Well, how to keep her fingerprints off the walls and furniture, at least. She's holding on to those things like they'll run away if she lets go, so leave well enough alone. While I cared for Sylvia, and Vera continued to be sweeter than sugar to me, I tried like crazy to find time to practice at least once a day on my mother's piano. Sylvia didn't like me to practice on the piano. She sat in the sunlight and threw colored beams on my sheets of music, as if I shielded them in some way. She beamed the lights in my eyes so I couldn't read the music. I continued my lessons with Lamar Rinsdale, even though I didn't have much time to practice. I knew he was preparing to go to New York. This time he was planning to stay to teach music at Juilliard. It's better than eking out an existence in a place that treats any artist with scorn, he explained. He'd called to tell me his good news the night before, sounding terribly excited. I'd rather you didn't tell anyone of my appointment, Audrina, and you must swear to go on with your music lessons. Someday I know I'm going to sit in an audience and say to myself that I was the one who started Audrina Adair on the road to fame. I hadn't told a soul except Arden that I'd decided to drop by Mr. Rinsdale's to say goodbye. In my pocket I had a small farewell gift, a pair of gold cufflinks that had belonged to my maternal grandmother. Once Lamar Rinsdale had seemed the neatest man possible, a place for everything, and everything in its place. Now his once impeccable lawn and garden was unattended and cluttered with junk. The grass needed mowing, the weeds needed pulling, the bear cans were rolling in the wind. He hadn't even raked the leaves or torn down the old bird nest over his door. I started to knock at the back door, but at the slight touch of my knuckles, it swung open, helped by the strong gust of wind that blew in behind me. Whenever I entered his home, I'd hear him at the piano, but he wasn't there. He'd gone to the city. I presume he'd gone to the city. I decided to just leave my gift with a note and sit on the porch and wait for Arden to come around and pick me up. I began to scribble a note on his kitchen memo pad. Dear Mr. Rinsdale, I'd written when I heard a noise coming from the living room. I parted my lips to call out when I heard a familiar girlish giggle. Stiffening, I shuddered to think that all those lurid tales Vera had told me might be true. I tiptoed to the kitchen door and eased it open just a bit. Mr. Rinsdale and Vera were in the living room. A lively log fire was crackling in the fireplace. November had just turned cold enough for fires. This afternoon was dreary, but with the fire it seemed very cozy and cheerful in that small room as Lamar Rinsdale moved to put a record on the player. Sweetly it filled the house with a serenade. I stood there, unable to decide what to do. It would be an hour or more before Arden came for me. It was such a long walk home, and the highway was dangerous on foot. I couldn't go foolishly as to hitchhike. No, I'd go sit on the back porch. You see, said Lamar Rinsdale, you can dance just fine. I told you your limp is hardly noticeable. You make too much of it, Vera. When a girl is as pretty as you are, and has your kind of figure, no man is going to notice that small flaw. Then my limp is a flaw. Lamar, I was hoping you'd see me as perfect. Really, Vera, you're very pretty and very appealing and very seductive, but you're too young for a man of my age. For 2 years, we've had a wonderful time together, and I hope you never regret one moment, but now I'm leaving. You should find a boy your own age, a boy who will marry you and take you away from that house you seem to hate. You said you loved me, and now you're talking as if you don't. You never did you? You just said that, so I'd go to bed with you. And now that you're tired of me, you want someone new. And I love you so much. Of course I love you, Vera, but I'm not ready to get married. You know I need that professor's assignment. I told them I wasn't married, and they liked that. They thought I'd be more devoted to teaching. Vera, please remember that I'm not the only man in the world. For me you are, she wailed louder. I love you. I'd die for you. I gave myself to you. You seduced me and swore to me you'd always love me, and now that I'm pregnant, you don't want me. Deeply shocked, I cringed backward. My dear girl, you cannot possibly be pregnant. Don't try that old trick with me. But I am, she wailed. Lamar, you do love me. I know that you do. Make love to me again right now. Let me prove again how much I can thrill you. I gasped to see how she had her hands all over his back, then down to his buttocks, even as she parted her lips and kissed him with such wild passion. Don't. Audrina mentioned something last night about dropping in to say goodbye. Are you teaching her what you taught me? I'll bet I'm 10 times better. Better than... Stop saying things like that. Audrina's a lovely, innocent girl. The Lord alone knows how the two of you could turn out so different. As he continued to scold her, Vera lifted her green sweater to show her naked breast. They bobbled as he kept shaking, and she kept laughing. Even as he shook her, she unfastened her skirt and let it fall on the floor. In another second, her thumbs were hooked inside her panties, and off she snatched them. Lamar Rinsdale couldn't resist staring at her nudity. It seemed silly for her to keep that sweater pulled up under her armpits as she taunted, You want me, so why don't you take me? Or do I have to do what I did last time, Mr. Rinsdale? Oh, she was imitating the way I spoke. Suddenly, he seized her in his arms and kissed her ruthlessly hard, bending her backwards until I thought she might break. They both fell to the floor, and they were wrestling and kissed, breathing hard with passion, even as they said ugly things to one another over and over again. Petrified, as if 7 years old and trapped in the rocking chair, I watched until their violent sexual act was over, and Vera was laying naked on top of his long, gray, hairy body. Tenderly, she stroked his cheeks, caressed his hair, kissed his eyelids, and nibbling on his ears as she murmured with a certain vicious tone, If you don't take me to New York with you, I'll tell everyone you raped me. And Audrina. The police will throw you in jail. For I'm only 16, and Audrina's only 12. They'll believe me, not you, and never again will you find a decent job. Please don't do that, Lamar, for I love you. Really love you, so much it hurts to even say mean things like that to you. With those words, she sat up, turned, and began to play with the most intimate parts of his body. His moans of joy followed me out the back door, which I closed softly behind me. Outside, I breathed the cold November air, trying to cleanse my lungs of the musky odor of sex that permitted all those small rooms. I was never going back. No matter what happened, I was never going back. Silently, I sat next to Arden all the way home. Is everything all right, he asked. Why aren't you talking to me? Everything's fine, Arden. Of course it's not fine. If it were, you'd be babbling away, telling me about Lamar Rinsdale and how wonderful he is. But you're not saying any of that. Why not? How could I tell him what I was thinking? Vera had boasted only the other day that she'd had sex with Arden, too. That very evening, Vera jumped on me. You were there, Audrina. You spied on us. If you tell Papa, you'll pay. I'll see that you pay. I'll tell him that you do the same with Arden and with Lamar, too. I went into the kitchen and found these, where you left them, on the kitchen table. I'm warning you right now, if you dare tell Papa, I'll do something so dreadful you'll never want to look in the mirror again. I hated and despised her so much then that I wanted to hurt her. She threatened to hurt me. You wanted to be my friend. What a wonderful friend you make, Vera. With you for a friend, I don't need any enemies, do I? No. With me for your friend, you have the best of all possible enemies. I wanted you to love me, Audrina, so you'd be hurt more when you realized how much I hate you. How much I've always hated you. The vehemence of her shrill words left me quivering. Why do you hate me so much? What have I done to you? You idiot. How can you be so blind? Can't you look at me in my eyes and see who's my father? I am the first Audrina, not you. Your papa is my father, too. I'm the eldest, and I should come first, not you. Papa dated my mother before he even knew your mother, and he made my mother pregnant. Then he saw your mother, who was younger and prettier. But he didn't say one word to my mother until she told him she was pregnant with me. He refused to believe he was the father and forced my mother to leave town. And that stupid mother of mine did just what he wanted. And all the time she kept thinking that when she came back and he saw me and how pretty I was, he'd want to marry her then. I was only 1 year old, and she had me all fixed up so he'd be impressed. But he wasn't impressed, for he'd married your mother in the meanwhile. Oh, Audrina, you just don't know how much I hate and despise him for what he did to both of us. I was just a baby and rejected by my own father. He has never given me any of the things that are rightfully mine. He plans to leave you this house and all his money, too. He told my mother that, and it belongs to me. Everything here should belong to me. She sobbed and struck out at me. Quickly I dodged to spring away, whirling around Vera in her insane rage. She hit out at Sylvia. Down flat on her face, Sylvia sprawled, screaming at the tops of her lungs. That's when I ran to tackle Vera. Don't you ever hit Sylvia again, Vera. I was on top of Vera, holding her down, and she withered and kicked and tried to scratch my eye. She fought so wildly, trying to rake my face with her long, sharp nails. Sylvia was still screaming. I sprang to my feet and ran to pick her up. Using a chair to pull herself up, Vera was finally on her feet. She stumbled toward the bedroom door in the hall outside. She didn't notice the small prism that Sylvia had been playing with. She stepped on it, lost her balance, and fell again to the floor. Sylvia howled in great distress, but it was Vera who screamed the loudest, for when I looked, I was amazed to see great pools of blood on the floor. With Sylvia in my arms, I ran for my aunt. Aunt Elizabeth, come quick. Vera's bleeding all over my bedroom floor. She's really bleeding. The blood is running down her legs. Only then did my aunt stride to the sink. Well, come along. I may need your help. There's a wild, destructive side to that girl, and no doubt she's managed to get herself in trouble. We arrived in time to see Vera crawling on the floor, drenched with her own blood by now and still bleeding. The baby. I've lost my baby. Wild and distraught looking, she raised her hand when we entered the room, and I hugged Sylvia closer. Were you pregnant? Asked my aunt coldly. Yes, screamed Vera, still feeling around in the blood. I've got to have that baby. I've got to. I need that baby. It's my ticket out of this hellhole, and now it's gone. Help me, Mama. Help me save my baby. If you've lost it, better so. Demented looking, Vera's eyes went wild, and her fingers curled around one huge clot of blood that she hurled at her mother. It struck my aunt's apron and fell to the floor with a thickening, sickening clump. Now he'll never take me with him. Clean up the mess you made, Vera. When I come back, I want to see this room as spotless as it was this morning. Use cold water on that rug. Mother, I've just miscarried, and you worry about the rug? The Oriental is valuable. I should have known it would happen this way. She's no good, like her father, and yet he made other children without her flaws. Is Vera really Papa's child? Without answering, my aunt hurried back to the kitchen, where she immediately washed her hands again, scrubbing them with a brush. She hurled a soiled apron into the laundry sink, which she filled with cold water, and then she took a fresh apron from the cabinet drawer. The apron was white with sharp iron creases. Once she had the apron strings tied, she began to reel the pie pastry she had abandoned. You look paler than usual, Papa said to Vera. Are you sick with a cold or something? If so, you should eat in the kitchen. You should know better than to spread your viruses around. The look Vera gave him was so thick with hatred, it could have been sliced with a knife. She got up and left her dinner unfinished. I felt sorry for her as I watched her stumble weakly from the dining room. She always limped worse when she was tired. Vera, is there anything I can do to help? You can stay the hell away from me. Vera didn't even make an effort to clean my rug of all that blood. She just left it for me to do. For hours and hours that night before I went to bed, I scrubbed on my hands and knees at the bloody stains that refused to leave the deep wooden pile. My aunt came in and saw what I was doing, left to return shortly with a second pail and a hard brush. Side by side, we both worked on the rug. Your father's gone to bed. He must never know about this. He's getting very alive. Audrina told me that what he's like, this music teacher of yours. She told me he's the father. How could I tell her when I knew absolutely nothing about him? To me, he'd seemed a fine, kind, and noble gentleman who would never seduce a young girl, but then, what did I know? But the rocketeer knew everything that Papa knew about how evil men were, and how the terrible things they did to girls. "Where's Vera?" asked Papa, when I carried a clean, sweet-smelling Sylvia down to the kitchen. "What's wrong with your face? Were you in a fight? Audrina, who hit you in your eye and scratched your cheek?" "Papa, you know I sleepwalk sometimes. I did that last night and fell." "I think you're lying. I noticed your face looked red last night, but Vera made me so damn mad that I didn't pay much attention to you. Now you tell me the truth." Refusing to say more, I began the bacon that Papa ordered. Again, he picked up the newspaper and began to read. "Papa, why do you need the morning paper now when you didn't want it before Mama died?" "It's just something to do, besides argue with your aunt." His words brought my aunt striding into the room. Before the moment she saw what I was doing, she shoved me aside and took over turning the bacon. Breakfast was over before my aunt said one word. Then quietly came our information. "She's gone, Damien." "Who's gone?" "Vera's gone." "Good riddance." "Here." She left this for you on her pillow. "I've already read it. I'd like you to read it aloud for Audrina to hear." "I don't care to read it, Elizabeth. She's your daughter, and I'm sure she said nothing that will make my day happier." Instead, Elizabeth handed a note to me. Tears came to my eyes as I read what she'd written. "Wait a minute, Papa. You need to hear this for the good of your own soul." For some reason he paused, looking ill at ease. "Dear Papa, you have never allowed me to call you Papa or Father. But this time I'm going to disobey it and call you Papa, as Audrina does. You're my father, and you know it. My mother knows it. Audrina knows it, and I know it. When I was very young, all I wanted was for you to love me, even just a little bit. I used to stay awake at nights, plotting all the good things I could do to make you notice me and say, 'Thank you, Vera.' But I was never able to win your affection, no matter how hard I tried, so I soon gave up. I used to watch your wife so I could learn to be like she was, soft-spoken, always well-dressed and smelling of perfume, and you spanked me for using her perfume, and spanked me for wearing my good clothes when I played. You spanked me for any reason at all, so I stopped trying to please you, especially after you had your sweet Audrina, who could do no wrong. She was the one who pleased you in all ways. No doubt at this moment, as you read this, you are glad to be rid of me, since you never wanted me in the first place. I'm sure you'd be happy to see me dead, but you can't get rid of me so easily, for I'm coming back, Damien Adair, and everybody who made me cry is going to cry 10 times more than I ever did. I won't give away any secrets in this letter, but there will come a day when all your secrets will be dragged out in the open for all to view. Count on that, dear Papa. Dream about that at night. Think about my dark eyes, which are just like yours, and wonder just what I've got in store for you and yours. And remember most of all, you brought it all on yourself by being heartless and cruel to your very own flesh and blood. Without love now, I am the daughter who will serve you best, and serve you longest, Vera." Slowly, Papa turned around and stared at me. "Why did you want me to hear that? Audrina, don't you love me either?" "I don't know," I answered in a small, uncertain voice, "except I thought you owed her a great deal she never got." "Vera's gone, Papa, and she told you the truth. You didn't listen when she talked. You tried not to see her. You never spoke to her except to order her to do this or that. Papa, if she is your daughter, don't you owe her something? Would a little kindness and a little love have been too much to give?" Papa squared his massive shoulders. "You've heard Vera's side of it, Audrina, not mine. I'm not going to defend my actions. I say this one thing. Beware the day when Vera comes back into our lives. Go down on your knees tonight and pray that she stays away. But for your aunt, I would have had her put in some distant boarding school a long, long time ago. There are some who should never have been born." Unwaveringly, he looked my aunt in the eyes. I seemed to hear their dark eyes clashing. Her voice was small and spoken. When she spoke, "You've said enough, Damien. You were right and I was wrong, but she is mine. And I had hoped she'd turn out differently. We all had hopes, didn't we?" With those words, he left the kitchen.